Hey boss, so today I want to share with you some tips on how to evaluate employee performance reviews. So I know when you're a boss, all of a sudden, of all the other things that you've got to get accomplished, employee performance reviews is on the list. And it's really, really important to be able to do this really well. And I wanted to share with you some tips on how you can do that. So really the performance review should always be meaningful and productive. And this is whether it is your quarterly review, a 6-month review if you have one, or the ultimate yearly annual performance that is typically a lot more formal. And when you do this, making it meaningful and productive, that means that really the focus is on the employee and it's about meeting the goals that you have set for them and those responsibilities. And so the focus is really usually on 3 key areas, and that is, what is the employee doing well? The other is how can the employee improve their performance? And then lastly, it's setting those goals that are based on the supervisor, the feedback that you're giving the employee. So when you focus on those 3 key areas, it kind of encompasses everything. And when you're doing this, really, to avoid the stress that you are experiencing because you don't know how the employee is going to respond, and the stress that the employee is experiencing because they don't know what you're going to say, it really should be focusing on inspiring that employee. And when you go with that approach, the outcome is going to be a lot better. Hey, I'm Dr. Heather Williamson with the Transformation Group, and welcome back to the channel. All right, so let's focus on what you need to do. So there was an article by Resourceful Manager, and they actually shared 3 tips that you can use to evaluate employee performance. And I thought I would share them with you. So the first is to focus on 2 or 3 key areas that are really important to you and to the business. So if you focus on 2 or 3 important areas, that means that that employee is not going to be feeling that overwhelm if you've got a ton of things normally that you might have actually focused on. So this makes it very specific, which is always good. Also, it's going to increase the overall effectiveness of the performance appraisal by the employee because you're only focusing on 2 or 3 key areas. And lastly, one thing that you can really do when it comes to focusing on those 2 or 3 key areas is focusing on, for example, things that are needed to maybe change past behaviors. Also, developing maybe new skills could be an area of focus. And then lastly, maybe leading and overcoming the challenges that are going to be experienced when managing a new project. So those are 3 examples of some key areas that you could actually incorporate into your employee's performance review. If you do this, then there's going to be an improvement on the execution of your performance appraisals or reviews, the outcomes. So that is also important. Now the second key area second tip that Resourceful Manager shared is that use your employees' own words. So this is so simple, and I know when I was working for a company years ago that we had to write our own performance appraisals and then submit it to our boss, and they would actually add to it. And so when you use your employees' own words, it is actually helping create that buy-in that you're wanting to have that employee say, yes, I see it, I've even said it, so the buy-in is there. It's easy and it's effective. And last, it will reinforce any issues and that had been previously discussed and gain the commitment that you're wanting for improvements of those behaviors or the knowledge or skills that's needed moving forward. And then last, the third tip for you is avoiding adding surprises during this performance review. And this is hugely important because your employee should not be sidelined based on last minute issues that have come up, and they should not be surprised. So when you are doing this, make sure that you don't bring up any new issues or problems that just recently occurred that had not been previously discussed. Also, it can be disastrous because when you surprise your employee, put them on the defensive, they are possibly going to shut down. They're going to have put a wall up. They're not going to be open to your ideas and suggestions because they're going to feel like they have just been, surprised in not a good way. Also, if you really focus on having a conversation that is focused on improvement in a way that it's positively going to impact them and the business, you're going to go a long ways with this. So always make sure that this is the conversation and not something that, hey, I'm going to highlight a couple things that you've done well, but we're going to spend the bulk of our time on these areas that really you need some major improvement on. No one wants to sit through something like that, ever. So make sure that you really create that positive experience for your employee. Make it sure that the conversation is inspiring. And if you do that, if you do these 3 tips that I just shared, then you are going to build that relationship that you are really wanting with your employee, that is going to be that high performing team. They're going to feel like that you are leading them in a way that is going to be supportive and not, break their backs. So hopefully you found this useful. Let me share with you those 3 tips again. So the first one is on how to evaluate employee performance is to focus only on 2 or 3 important areas. The second is to use your employees' own words. And then the third tip is to avoid adding last-minute surprises to that performance evaluation. All right? So if you have a friend or know of somebody else that is struggling with giving performance evaluations, share this video with them so they too can get some great tips on how to make it more inspiring for that employee and for yourself. So with that, if you like this video, please like the button below. Don't forget to subscribe. And last but not least, go out and be that boss that your employees want to work for. Until next time, have an amazing day. Bye.